back to this joint collaboration between Let's Talk and I'm John.
And I'm Carmela from Salem, Cellar. I forgot where I was from.
And today we are going to be talking about a little 2019 film Jordan Peele directed, Us, which was his follow-up to 2017's Get Out. This one stars Winston Duke, Lupita Nyong'o, I think I'm saying that right, Elizabeth Moss. And this one, for me and Carmela, is a very important horror film, right?
Yeah, he definitely took like Get Out that did so well and took it a couple of notches up because I love Us. I actually like it better than Get Out.
And I actually completely agree with you. And it's funny because
Yeah.
I remember people saying at the time that this movie was he was trying to do too much with it and he was too ambitious. But I think that ambition is what makes this movie fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
It,
we're following around a family and it just seems like a regular, ordinary family going on a vacation. And then what do you know? One night, a family that looks just like them shows up on their on their beach house's like front porch, and they come inside, hold them hostage, and from that point on, we get a story that we're gonna spoil the hell out of for you guys. So if you haven't
we
seen
are.
Us, make sure you come back.
Definitely pause, watch the movie, and then come back and finish watching.
Because this movie has a couple of twists in it.
Yeah, it starts off in the beginning, and you are introduced to Lupita's character as a child, and she's at a fair with her mother and father. They never really say if her parents are together. They don't seem like they're together with the whole dynamic, but they never really
It doesn't
let
feel
us
that
know
way.
either way. Yeah,
Especially
and
like
then
when
you
they
see
go
him.
back in the house and like she's not talking and you kind of hear them talking in the other room with like I guess a social worker, and it just feels like he doesn't live there.
No, yeah, the way they're very cold to each other. Yeah, definitely. And you see them hanging out at the fair. It's her birthday, and her father wins her a shirt, a Michael Jackson shirt. Was it Thriller shirt? It
I
was a
think it was
Thriller shirt.
Thriller.
And then she kind of like gets her mom goes to the bathroom, dad's not paying attention, she gets separated, and she goes, I don't know why she was brave enough to do this, but she walked onto the beach at night by herself and walked into a dark, I guess it was like a house of mirrors, a little fun house. I'm sorry, at any age, even an adult, I would not walk into that house by myself, let alone at night. I wouldn't go into it during the day by myself. Like
And
that
it's
is scary.
thunder and lightning out too. She's like the worst scenario to be on that beach by herself. Nobody is
Yeah.
around.
Oh my God, it's horrifying. And you see her walk into it and she looks at something and her eyes get big. And I don't know if they show yet who she sees, or she sees the back of a head.
Then that's when we cut to the opening credits where we get like our first look at the rabbits and we hear the first time we hear the score, which I think works really well for this movie as well. And we don't
Oh my
know, like the thing about Us is that I think it rewards you on rewatches. That's why when people didn't like it initially. So I actually saw this in the movies back to back days. That's how much I loved it when I first saw it. And when you rewatch it, you could get all the hints. And the first time you watch that, you get like you're trying to like unravel the mystery. So I feel like rewatching it makes more sense, especially when you see the rabbits and that one long like I guess like abandoned train station or subway station or something. I can never figure out what that is, but it looks gorgeous. And I guess they're just hinting at everything, and then we see the family.
The score you brought up, it makes the movie like so creepy. It makes your skin crawl. It definitely does what it's supposed to do. Like it's just you're like, you're just listening to it. It's just like, and there's something also like a little soothing about it when you hear it and you see the bunnies, and before it gets into like the car scene when the family's on the road trip.
Mm-hmm.
But you're 100% right about the rewatches. Like I watched in the movie theater, and then the whole time I'm watching it, I'm trying to figure out what the twist is. What is going on? Like what is he going like what because you see like little things about tunnels, and you see little things about you'll see her watching like TV in the beginning, and it's a bunch of people, like it's like the people across America joining hands and uniting. So it's like, what does all of this mean? So like the first time you watch it, I think you're too focused on trying to figure out the mystery. But the more you watch it, the more you pick up little things that you probably missed the first time. I definitely think rewatching is important.
Yep, especially like even in the first third of the movie, like the way like Lupita's character is like so sketched out about going to this beach. We think it's because like what happened to her in that funhouse, and it is, but we don't realize yet that it's because she doesn't want to have those people realize who she is because she's the one that got out. And then
Yeah.
and then also when that one guy, when the kid sees the guy on the beach and he's got his arms down, like in that, hands across America position, it's like he just glitched out and got stuck there.
Hmm.
But you don't realize, you have no idea the first time you're watching the movie what the hell he's doing.
It was weird the first time I watched it. I'm like, why is he doing it? Is this the same guy from the opening scene? But then we see the guy in the ambulance when they're pulling up to the beach, which was the guy with the sign. So you're like, wait a second, what's going on? You just saw him in the ambulance, and now we see him in the beach bleeding, just standing there with his arms out. So yeah, you don't really pick it up. Like, this is the same man. And I'm like, what's going on? The first time you watch it, it's like,
They really let it build up. You spend some time with the characters, with the family, which I like all the family. Everybody. Winston Duke is great. He's really funny. They even slip in some jokes, which is nice because you get Jordan Peele directing it. But like they try and keep it a little bit light with how the family interacts with each other. How he kind of goes out there like the confident man when they finally show up in the red suits.
If y'all are out here trying to scare people, I think you picked the wrong house for that.
He doesn't even realize what he's in for.
he's like, the police are already on their way. Like, he deepens his voice so he seems scary. Like, every single time I watch that, I like crack up because he's like trying to be this tough dad. Meanwhile, he has like his college sweater on. He looks all preppy, and it's like, he's like, you're at the wrong house. Like, it cracks me up every time. And then when he goes in the house, because he's like, wait a second, this man is charging me. I am not tough. He goes in the house, and then they find the hide key, and he's like, what kind of white people shit is this? It's like,
I love that.
Think about it, like do black families really have hide keys? Like, that is just like something you wouldn't think that this family would have. So it was just like funny that he said it like that.
What kind of white shit?
Yeah, like that doesn't seem like the vacation. It seems like the vacation the other family would be on, the one that we see with Elizabeth Moss, her husband, and those two twins. Like that's kind of like what I expect from them. But this family doesn't seem like this would be the trip that they're on. And of course, she's freaked out about the beach as it is anyway. So she starts freaking out when she thinks her son's disappeared, and then now once they're there. Do you think at this point she realizes, like, do you think she knows right away what's going on and, like, she just goes right into protection mode while not trying to unveil, like, that's actually the person I switched with?
I think so, because I think she starts, like, all these coincidences start to happen. Like when she's at the beach and with the, the Frisbee, perfectly lands on the circle. Mm-hmm. And she's like, okay, that's weird. Then she looks at the time. It says 11:11. Okay, that's weird. Like all these things keep on lining up. And I think she feels it happening. Like she feels like, okay, something's coming on. Something's coming. Like I think like the other twin, or I don't know if you want to call her a twin, but she brings up something like, we were different. We were different than anybody else. Like, I think they have like this bond and connection that the other ones didn't have. That's why I think they lined up at the same spot on their birthdays. So I think she was feeling the other half, her other half, or the other version of her coming closer, inching like closer to her every moment.
I think you're exactly right, because they're tethered. They're tethered together. That's what the scissors illustrate, is us cutting the other one off, because they're the oppressed, essentially. They're the ones who got stuck in a terrible situation while everybody else is up there, the other half living the better life. Like, I love how she lays it out. She changes her voice and she just lays out everything. Like, you had a baby, and then the second one, I had to cut it out of her myself.
It didn't matter if she loved him or not. He was tethered to the girl's prince after all.
And how she basically hates her kids and husband, but that's it. We're tethered together, and if you're doing that, then I'm doing that over here. And it's like, oh my God, that's awful. That's how we find out that they're eating the rabbits. Just messed up.
like live rabbit. She's like, I had to eat cold, live rabbit. I had to open up my presents, like, and getting cut and like sharp, like it almost like she seemed like she was like going through glass to get to her presents. Like when she explained like giving birth to her child, like, you have this beautiful child, I had to cut it out of me. I can't even imagine as a woman, like, because I've given birth twice. And I can't even imagine going through that pain or that scenario and having to cut yourself open to remove your baby. Like, and then she probably had to stitch herself closed. Like, no wonder she hates you so much. You took her away from her family on her birthday, and then how did she even get out of the handcuffs? She was probably stuck there for a while, and then she was stuck with this horrible life that she at the end when she's like, you could have taken me with you, like we could have done this together. You didn't have to be evil and leave me. Like, why did you not take me? Like, that is just so powerful. Every time I watch it, it's like, oh, like this one is really like the devil. Like, she's extremely evil.
Well, actually, that's what I wanted to ask you, because actually the way you just kind of made me look at it a little bit darker, because I kind of understand why the tethered one would do what she did. Like, she was the one living this horrible life, and she felt like, you know what? I'm that desperate. I'm going to take the other one's life, and now she's going to have to see what I see. The problem is like, she ended up spending more time down there, and if they didn't do that switch, it would have just kept going on. Like, that was it. It would have just gone on and on and on. But once they do the switch, this other one's like, okay, I see what we're doing to these people. I'm going to be the one to lead them to the surface, and we'll be the real ones now. And that's how we end up with the movie, in the sense that we see them all taking over the world. Just they're the ones killing all their at first you think it's just the one family, but then we see which is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, when Elizabeth Moss and her family get killed and they got the music playing the whole time.
Hello?
Oh my god!
I just love that scene. Like the gymnastics and everything that the other twins are doing.
That scene was funny because it's I don't think they could have survived that little battle between the other family. But if the husband would have just listened to the wife instead of like making OJ jokes.
Like a person. There's a person walking around outside our fucking house.
It's probably a squirrel. I don't know.
You just making jokes, putting on the music. I think maybe they would have stood a little bit more of a chance. But yeah. I guess it makes the scene that much better. Like, you hear F the police in the background while like this whole family's getting brutalized and murdered.
Call the police.
Sure. Playing Fuck the Police by NWA.
I love that that's playing the whole time while they're doing this. And then, like, she finally, like, saying the call, like, because she set that up by saying, call the police, and then it's like, no, we're going to play Fuck the Police for you.
It's so good. It's just so perfect how he did this movie.
He really is, and it's just, like, I love how it looks. It looks beautiful. I love, like, the way Jordan Peele, all three of his movies look similar. The way I would describe is they look very clean, I would say. Like, like, all the interiors, like, you know, some horror movies look grimy and dirty. Like, this looks like very produced. It looks very nice. All the shots are like well thought out. Like when we see from the inside of the funhouse to the outside to the beach, and he puts like the black on both sides of the door and centers it. I just love that kind of stuff. I eat that up. It looks gorgeous, this movie. Even
when like dark stuff is happening, even like the most horrible things are happening, it's still clear. It's still bright. It has like this crisp feel to it. So I know what you mean. He definitely, like all his movies, now I think about it, have that. I love that about it.
And all his movies also have a deep meaning and message to them. Me and Faith were talking about this, but I was wondering what you think the message is of this movie.
I don't really know. I know there's a couple of different things, like maybe like the government trying to control us.
That's what I got.
Because they make the tethered or the other people in the, I guess you want to call it abandoned subway stations, they make them to control us. So finally, the part of us that's being controlled comes out and fights back to the government, fights back for our freedom. So that's kind of how I took it, like them coming up with their jumpsuits, with their scissors to cut ties from the government and like take over our lives and stop being like puppets. Because basically we're puppets for The
The government.
government. That's what I feel like the meaning was behind it. That's what I get from it.
Well, Faith actually said something pretty similar to what you said, which is like because the title of the movie is Us, like U.S., like saying that this is how we are, like we are the oppressed, and now we're gonna rise up finally and become because like the government's always keeping certain people down, and this is us keeping them down, and now they're finally rising up to the surface, and now it's like we're gonna finally because like that's like all the illustration how like I thought also like with class like talking about like you eat all this warm delicious food and then I eat cold dead rabbit, like obviously that's an over exaggeration, but like rich
Yeah.
people, Faith like even brought this up, like rich people get private chefs and like they can always eat delicious and still healthy food, that's why they live forever, while the rest of us, you know, we're eating fast food, we're eating overly processed food, so like all that stuff does kind of stick out as like maybe it's a movie about class in there as well, but like you know even if you get away from the message it's still an entertaining movie.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the more you watch it, the more you get that message, the more you compare like the two separate I don't really know what I don't even let's call them twins. Like the more that you compare them, but with Lupita's character, it's really funny because I felt bad for her the entire film. I felt like she was the hero. She was like our superhero, and that went through a lot. But the more I watch it, the more I see that she is the real villain of this film. She is the monster, honestly. And that the final scene where you get her in the car and she's driving and you finally see what actually happened. All of that's coming back. And her son, she looks over her son and her son looks at her like, I know what you are. Like, I know that you are the original one, that you are the monster, the villain, and she just smiles, that evil smirk. Like just it just gives you chills. It's just such a movie that like makes you think nonstop. Like you're thinking of what he means behind everything. You're thinking about like the different characters and where they're coming from and what they're feeling. Like it's just such a deep, heavy film, but it's like it's heavy in a good way. Like you don't leave it feeling like stressed out. You feel like I don't know. I watch it almost daily because I have a problem, but like I watch it to go to sleep because it's kind of comforting to me in a sick psychopathic kind of way.
Although I understand what you're saying because it's weird. It feels like a summer movie. It feels upbeat. The score, especially even at the end, like the score is sending you home, like you said with that shot, which you're making me kind of rethink how I was viewing her the whole time because now I'm thinking about it a little bit. Like she could have told somebody that this is what's going on down there, but she chose not to. So she chose for her own selfishness to go on and live the life that she wanted to live. So when she does crack that smile at the kid, I mean, the kid has got to be thinking, "Holy shit, who's my mother? Like I don't even know her," because that really is her kid. So it's at the end of the day, it's like, is that a part of me? But yeah, like the way the score kind of like lifts up at the end, it does kind of feel like it's sending you home happy, but the world's kind of ending. Like they're driving around in an ambulance. This is not too long after we see that scene like where she kills the other one in that classroom, which I love that scene because the way the score is moving, how they're doing like that ballet almost.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
so
beautiful.
fantastic. Yeah,
I love how they threw in the ballet aspect with like, you know, because the other one said, the one that was, I guess, the good twin, let's call her. She's like, I would have never danced if it wasn't for you.
Yeah, that was beautiful in a way.
Yeah. So it was just like a nice dynamic. Them like, you know, it's the same person, but it feels like two different people. Like you don't feel like it's like the same person. Like, you know, like it just feels like two completely separate characters battling it out.
Oh yeah, it feels like that for all of them. Like even like when like Winston Duke's character, he's like kind of sweet, but then his tethered version is angry and assertive and just downright mean. Like he's just going there to kill him. He's got him tied up in the boat. And even with the kids, I like how the kids kind of match up with their alternate version. The other one's all burnt, which is funny because the other kid likes fire himself, but the other one's only got a match and he's all messed up. Oh, it's freaky.
It's funny because at the beach, because the twins are talking, they're like, oh, why is your brother so weird? And the sister's like, oh, he has a problem communicating. Like, I watched that after. I'm like, well, he's part of the tethered people. Like, you know, like he's half of that. So it makes sense that he has some of like, because I really take them as people with really like no souls. Like, because they say like they made them and they left out the souls of these people.
That
so
makes
he's
sense,
part.
yeah.
he's part of them. Like he's half like tethered or whatever. I don't know what you want to call that community of people or red suits, but it makes sense that he's quiet. He's awkward. He's not like fully there, and they throw that out there.
Yeah, I agree. It just seems like that. I love it though. I love how the alternate versions. Like I think that's exactly what it is. They don't have souls, so that's why they lack the humanity and the empathy that a regular human being would have. But she has it. That's why she's the one that had to be down there to lead them, because they would have just done nothing if it wasn't. And it took her how long to do that too. Don't know who delivered. I guess she sewed the red suits, but somebody had to make those scissors.
I know, they're beautiful scissors. I'm trying to get my hands on one.
Nice set of shears.
People sell replicas.
I mean, I'd like them. I put them in like a case, but I'm not doing what they're doing.
No. I don't want it to kill people, but I don't want it like, how I have like my mask and stuff. I'd really love to get one in a case and like put it on the wall. They're like, I don't know where they got those scissors. Like,
yeah, someone had to deliver them.
It was, and if you looked in there, like where they were all living, it was very clean.
Yeah,
I would think there would be like feces like everywhere, and it would be like a complete mess. But it was white and clean.
Yeah, that was like some things when you start to overthink it. I guess you could think of like certain plot holes. Like, how is this little girl the only one that ever found her way to that fun house? It didn't seem like it was a long walk. Like, you had to go down like a couple, like walk around the hallway, then you went down an escalator, and then that was it. No one else ever found their way up there throughout that entire history of them being down there. She was the only one. Like, when you start thinking about it, yeah, you could poke some holes in it, but I try not to with this movie because I just really enjoy the ride. But
even like you could think like another hole would be like, why didn't the other girl leave?
Yeah,
like,
why didn't she leave?
She knows there's another world up there. Why not leave at that moment? Why stay there all those years and put up with all this torture? Like, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, like she walked down there and she just like said, "Oh, I guess this is my new life." You never tried to find, because it looks like everybody else is ignoring her, so she could have just walked out.
Yeah. So that kind of like doesn't really make complete sense. There's a few holes, but like you said, it's such a good film. You kind of want to just ignore the minor imperfections.
We're not going to let accuracy get in the way of a good story, are we?
So out of a 10, what would you rate this film?
I would still give this movie a 9 out of 10. There's not much I don't like about it. Like I said, there might be some flaws in the plot of the story if you really start thinking about it, but I enjoy every rewatch on this. I love looking for all the hints throughout it. Love the cinematography. I love the score. I love the acting. So for me, this is an almost 5-star film. But yes, if you start to think about certain things, there can be some flaws. But either way, this is an endlessly rewatchable film for me. What about you?
I give it a 9 as well. I love it. Like I said, I watch it every day. Like, something's wrong with me, I know. But I watch it every single day. I could tell you the entire movie just like without hesitation. So I love it. I think it's beautiful. I think it is perfectly done. It's just the characters for me are great. The little kids alone in this film, they're just so great. Like they're so talented too. I watched something about the little boy, and like, he's such a talented young man. And I love it. And I love Winston. I love him from Black Panther. And I love like that you see two different aspects. Like you see him in Black Panther as like the leader, the tough guy. And then here he's like the preppy father that went to, I forgot what the college was.
Oh, Howard.
Howard, yes. Yeah. So he's very like preppy, educated. It's like a completely different aspect from like the other movie that I know him from. So I love it.
Isn't that funny? Actually, before we end this, I thought that was funny too. Is he like Black Panther? He's like this big fighter. In this movie, you could tell that his wife wears the pants in the relationship.
Yeah,
he's still this big guy, but it's like, yeah, you're kind of just fronting a little bit.
He's like when his tethered person is like dragging him through the house, he's crying like a little girl. He's like, like, I'm like, dude, you're a big boy. Like, you're really crying. Like your wife is like, she's stern. She has a face. She's like a game face on. Like, she's just keeping it composed. And he's like crying like a little girl the whole time. So I'm like, really, Winston?
Like, come on, man up a little bit. You look strong as hell. Like, defend your family. I love it.
That's great.
So, but that's gonna do it here, guys, for another episode of me and Carmela's show. I am John from Let's Talk.
And I'm Carmela from Salem, Cellar.
We'll be seeing you around.
We'll be right back.